The first and the last impression always count. This is something that we all know very well. So today we will focus on the conclusion, on the last part of your thesis. And well, the conclusion is also a little bit delicate and an outstanding section from your thesis or dissertation. So I would like to share some key aspects and considerations and also some tips how you can approach the thesis conclusion, what you should absolutely keep in mind when you work on yours. And well, what is important? So we want to find out what is the principal aim and the goal of the section, what is the scope, what goes into it, so which are the main components, and where should you press attention to when you are with this part. So after watching this video, I hope that you are best prepared when you are sitting in front of these last pages and you want to write an outstanding thesis conclusion. Let's start with the general stuff. So let's start with the organization and the structure and what goes into it. Which are the main components and what is the very goal and the aim of your conclusion. So, first of all, if you write your conclusion, then you should keep in mind that it is a kind of condensed summary of your findings and principal results. What you should do here is to highlight the contribution of your thesis. So why is it important and why does it matter? After all, why was it worth the pain to conduct your research project? And this is not only related to the academic and scientific audience and world, but also to the real world. So, which are the benefits and why does it matter? What does the reader get from your thesis? Imagine that, for example, your future boss or even people who think about reading your thesis or dissertation, who are interested in your topic, but well, maybe they don't have the time or they want to find out if it is worth the pain to read the whole thing. Well, how can you get them interested and how can you share what is important? Well, with the opening part, with the introduction, without any doubt, with the abstract and also with the conclusion, with the final part. So what goes into it? What is important? Which are the components? First, you need to showcase briefly the approach, the scientific approach that you took to craft your thesis. So you should present the methodology, the theoretical foundation, and well, also the literature, the underlying theoretical foundation, because you need to make clear why did you choose the underlying theoretical frame and the methodological approach and theoretical lens that you chose. Why was this what you chose and not another one of the wide variety of options? This is one thing that, yes or yes, you should present briefly in your conclusion. Then, well, another part is that you need to restate your thesis as a kind of logical consequence which results from the gap of research that you outlined. And now we are getting to the core of the story. it is also important that you select and assemble the highlights from your findings and results, so from the analysis and discussion, in order to make the contribution very clear to the reader. So at one side, you need to present your scientific approach and, well, then restating your thesis and the gap of research to get to the principal part, which is the selection of highlights. Well, after reading your conclusion, it should be very clear to the reader which is the contribution and why does your research matter. So what is the value of the project? And, well, he should not have any doubt on the importance on your investigation. Well, then there's another question, namely, what is the scope of the conclusion? After all, you can think about it as at least around a 10% of the total of your thesis. It depends if you write on a bachelor thesis, a master thesis, or a doctoral dissertation, and, well, the scope can vary between 2 and 4 pages, more or less. As I said, this is really, this depends on the total of the pages that you wrote, but more or less you can think about 10% of your thesis. So I know it is, difficult to approach and to start writing a conclusion. So how can we enable, let's say, a smooth start? My recommendation is that you start to summarize in a very brief and condensed form the different chapters and sections of your thesis. So write a draft for yourself and try to sum up the essence of every part within, 1 or 2 paragraphs. So not too long, not overloaded with details, but try to focus on the essential. Try to make clear what was the principal point and which were the principal aspects in a certain chapter or section. Then you already have a kind of base and draft version for your conclusion. If you write the conclusion, then try to think about showcasing in a condensed form your scientific approach and, sum up the methodology and the theoretical lens and foundation. You know that. And, restate the thesis as a logical consequence. And now the principal and most important point is, how do you get to the selection of key findings, which you need to put together and, to highlight the most brilliant and, most important details from the key findings. So this is something that you can approach as the following. Try to think for yourself what is the essence and try to catch a variation of different types of findings. You don't need to go too much into detail and, in depth, but it is important that you know very well how to, what are the primary findings and which are the highlights. And here you can also present some details, but caution, it has to be in a certain frame. Then there's another question, namely the limitation of your thesis. This is a section Well, the section of the prospects, and some universities and supervisors require that you put it all together so that you write one section which contains the conclusion and also the limitations of your thesis and prospects. But it is also possible that the prospects and the conclusion are two separate sections. Well, this is something that you need to look up in the guidelines from your university. Well, even though I can recommend to use the limitations that yes or yes, your thesis will have the borders because you are one single person and you are writing about detail from a certain gap of research, and you cannot really clear every question and every detail which is involved. So try to provide the prospects as a kind of inspiration for future projects. And for example, if you work on a bachelor's or a master thesis, then this can be also an inspiration if you want to continue with a doctoral dissertation, for example. Let me also share some considerations and some key issues when it comes to does and don'ts from your thesis conclusion. So first, keep in mind what matters when it comes to the question of citation and of repetition. This is important. And here's important that you do not repeat parts from your dissertation abstract or from the introduction, for example, that you also avoid any kind of plagiarism, and that you also limit or avoid direct citation and quotes. Imagine that the principal aim is to highlight and to showcase the contribution from your thesis, also with one or another detail, but this is not really the section where you should come up with a number of quotes and citations. So, last but not least, it is also important that you concentrate on the highlights, that you don't try to present everything what you discussed in the analysis and discussion chapter, that you avoid to drift too much into detail, and that you write short and on the point. So the essence in a very condensed and concise form. Something, a little tip that I can share with you is that, a third or a second or a third opinion always helps. So try to get some feedback from your personal circle, from your family, your friends, your fellows, and ask them about their impression of your conclusion and about some feedback. Good luck, and I hope this post was helpful for you. Please, if you liked it, then subscribe to the channel from my Thesis Academy and give it a like. And I'm looking forward to see you in the next video. Enjoy your day.